This is the CCM Axis blocker actual usage review, and I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca. Before this review, please check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey and Pure Goalie. Making a purchase through that link gives me a kickback, so I keep doing videos like this and making more content. I use this a bunch now with the pads. Pad review will be, if you're just watching this the first day, will be out tomorrow. So teaser at that. So this is just for the blocker itself. CCM has basically used the same basis of a blocker for a while now. Like, the only real big difference was the binding was removed, and they're basically the same. Not anymore. This is way thinner. Check out the video over here that I compare Premier blocker to this one to see the differences on there. But I'm going to talk about usage on this one specifically, compare it to some other brands. I really liked this blocker. I thought it felt really great. It's definitely not, in my opinion, like the best of the best, which I still will give to Bauer, and this isn't the best Bauer one either, but it's, in my opinion, a big improvement. Rebounds on it were solid. They weren't, again, Bauer solid, but they were solid. They went out decently far. Sideboard is fairly stiff, so you can kind of see how flat that sits. You can push it in a bit, whereas that's a Bauer one. Bauer one doesn't push in as much, but they're pretty close, to be honest, at this point. I think this is a pretty solid all-around piece. CCM still does the best finger protection in the business, and what I mean by that is this D3O right here. So you can see the D3O right in here. That is the best there is, to put it bluntly. It goes all the way around. Everyone else should figure this out and copy it. Brian's has foam in here too, but it's not quite as nice as a D3O. This is awesome. D3O is a great material. Great extra protection there, as well as with this piece and this piece. You get pretty solid protection with a stick. Don't feel like it gets in the way at all. It does make this finger a little stiffer, but that finger is always straight out on my stick anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that is a pretty solid group of finger protection there, so huge props to them there. To show off the actual protection right there, you can see how there is a lot of padding going on with that stick. And if you actually do kind of force your hand into it too like this, then this all stiffens up and gets in the way. So you have that piece, basically the puck has to get through that piece, more so that piece. And then it has the piece beneath it, trying to get that. And then the index finger with D3O. So that's solid right there. So one thing you can notice the difference between the Axis blocker and Bauer blockers is how much longer these fingertips are. But the reason being is you can see how the Bauer one is straight out and the Axis one is bent. So I got to give CCM huge props for these, because on my Reebok Premier 2, not CCM Premier 2, these were straight out and they didn't have this at all. So they have changed this, and I do like how that's bent kind of to cover your fingers, and you don't need as long as fingertips for that because of this. The other really nice thing is how this is a nice cushioned foam all the way through there. Also on back here. Really nice attention to detail there, extra padding. I did get hit with a puck right here. I'm not sure you can see that. Had no issues with it. Well, I knew it hit me there, but didn't hurt, so that was a good thing. Basically, went to make a save like this, low blocker. Didn't get it with the board, but it did sneak right onto my fingers, hit my fingers, and I was fine to go with that. So got to give them props for like that kind of design. The one thing is I had issues picking up sticks with it, because when I would go, or pucks basically on the ice, because when you go to close, this part kind of gets in the, it stays with the fingers all the way through, as you can see there. Whereas the Bauer one, because of the way it's designed and where it's hinged, and it's hinged kind of right here, it does let your fingers go out a bit more. So you can kind of see when you stick your fingers out, your fingers lead with it, and I can get the stick and pucks kind of with the fingertips, close it, and it's totally fine. Whereas this one, when I do that, this part is always kind of mostly with the fingertips. So this always gets in the way of stuff. I'm sure over time I would get used to that and it wouldn't be a huge issue, but that is just kind of how it is. And then on the underside, you can see how your fingers are a bit exposed there, because it doesn't really come all the way down, but it's pretty solid throughout. Basically, these also do help with people jamming on pucks, so it will help a bit there. But as a comparison, you can see that is what the CCM one is. And there's a comparison to the Bauer blocker. Pretty close. That curved design really does aid with the CCM one of really getting that over a bit more. The thing I really like with this blocker is this molded piece right here. Huge fan of this. This is using more materials like this is what I think CCM needed to do and needs to do to kind of push their gear into the modern age basically for gear. Bauer's been doing it with like Aerolite here. Unfortunately, I don't have an ultrasonic, which I think this whole piece is Aerolite, so it would basically be using just molded foams. Huge fan of that. Glad that they're doing that. The thing I'm not as big as fan as this being just a Velcro piece, because the E-Flex had just a nylon pull cord, and I love that. It's so easy to tighten and loosen while in your game. You can just flick it with your glove, and like you can even grab the cord with your glove if it sticks out enough. This isn't awful, but it is okay. The one thing they screwed up on, and this is a huge nitpick, but I'm calling it out just for future. This rubber piece is supposed to be there so you can pull it off easier. So you can pull it off easier, but because it has attached right there, you can see how the Velcro is attached all the way through. So it doesn't really do anything. It's supposed to hang off like it does on the pads right here. So you can see how this piece hangs off. That's what it's supposed to do. So when you put it on there, it kind of flaps off. So you just grab it and pull without touching Velcro. This one, they kind of screwed that up with. So it went too far. It was basically all of this part right here wasn't supposed to be Velcro, or that kind of shouldn't based on this design. But super nitpicky, super nitpicky. The other nitpick thing I have is the actual palm material itself. So this is Sure Grip, and you can kind of see the textured on it, basically right down here, and you can see it kind of worn on here. Now, CCM Sure Grip has been getting considerably worse time over the years, in my opinion. This is so smooth and the texture is so minuscule that it basically just feels like a smooth material, and it doesn't really feel like Sure Grip. I like Sure Grip, and I love Sure Grip on my catching gloves because it helps grip the palm of like the glove itself when it gets wet, because that texture just grips better. I put this, and I'm going to overlay it right now, side by side to a Lefebvre blocker with Sure Grip, and you can tell the difference in the Sure Grip material. So it is clear that CCM has changed the material over years, or at least had a different material for the Canadian factory, which was Lefebvre, and their Chinese or now Vietnam factory, which is this one. This one is worse, and I don't know if it's cheaper, but the stamping pattern in it makes it less grippy and less Sure Grippy and less like textured and nice. I basically don't feel like CCM Sure Grip material really does anything anymore. The one in the Bauer catching glove still works really well because it is that big texture, and the one in the Lefebvre glove feels better than this one too because of that texture. So again, just me, like CCM can improve on that, and they have had that material better in the past. So I hope they make changes to that to make that better, because currently it's kind of underwhelming compared to other Sure Grip materials. CCM has really done some nice things on these, like making the board thinner. It's very light. Again, I don't care about weights on equipment anymore, like specifically for gloves, pads, because if I don't notice them on the ice being heavy or really light, then it doesn't really matter to me, because it's just they're all light basically at this point anyways. This is a light glove. I did feel a couple shots through it. It wasn't pain, but I felt it, and I haven't felt a shot like that in a blocker since Optic 1, which wasn't padded enough. So kind of disappointing, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, oh, I'm surprised I felt that, because usually when I wear my Bauer blockers or my JRZ blocker or even my Brian's ones with the double, I get the double padded in there now, I punch that out and don't feel anything. It just flies off. So again, personal preference. Some people like to feel that. Again, it wasn't pain, but was just like something I noticed, and it was kind of in there. Other thing I guess I should cover is the new cuff, which is kind of this one piece here, then 2, 3. Not quite as open as what the 20.1 cuff looks like from the Lefebvre gear, but it's pretty open, and I had no issues with even my longer arms on my Kineski chest fitting in there. Everything felt fine. I like that design. Moves pretty well. Like, it doesn't really hinder that much. I like this cuff too, this flex piece, which is spandex, so it should flex out a little bit more. Decent design, solid, like nothing here, nothing special, but nothing crazy, just solid all around. I think just like the Axis pads, the Axis blocker is a solid with tiny improvements that kind of push CCM into a newer age of your gear, and they deserve huge props for it. Bigger rebounds off this face, thinner board, and still great finger protection. So they're solid all there. If I was buying like the pads, I'd have no problem going with this blocker. I liked it enough. Didn't have any problems with it, and I know people like to match, and a lot of gear I like to match, but sometimes I go to Bauer blockers with the Brian stuff. But this, I'd use this with the whole set, so that's a pretty good praise for that. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Please make sure you come back if you're watching this on the first day, because tomorrow we'll have the Axis pad review, which I know people have been asking for and were interested in. So check that out. If you are making any purchases of gear, please check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey and Pure Goalie. Making a purchase through there by clicking that link gives me a kickback, so it helps support the channel so I keep doing videos and making more content. And if you do make a purchase or thought this video was helpful of the Axis set, please reach out to CCM on social media and let them know. Maybe I'll one day get in their good book so I can actually get gear myself to use and not have to borrow it. That would be great. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.